Sildi high in the Caucasus Mountains of Dagestan, in a village called Sildi, a boy was born on September 20th, 1988, into a world where wrestling wasn't a sport so much as a language. His father, Khabib Nurmagomedov, was a Soviet Army veteran and combat sambo coach who had spent his own youth cycling 22 kilometers a day before sparring for hours on the mat. Khabib converted part of the family home into a gym. It was there, as a small child, that Khabib Nurmagomedov learned to wrestle before he'd fully learned to read. The stories that would later become legend, a young Khabib supposedly grappling with a bear cub in the Dagestani hills, were less important than the daily, unglamorous truth. A father who built champions by demanding more discipline than anyone thought a child could sustain, and a son who never once resisted it. Khabib would go on to train 19 combat sambo world champions in his lifetime, including future UFC champion Islam Makhachev. But Khabib was always the one he built first. The climb Khabib turned professional in 2008 and went unbeaten through 16 fights across Russian and Ukrainian promotions before the UFC signed him in 2012. Contract issues delayed his arrival, but once he landed, he tore through the lightweight division in a way the sport hadn't seen. In January 2013, against Abel Trujillo, he took his opponent down a record 21 times across 3 rounds. Not spectacle, just suffocating, relentless dominance that made opponents feel like they were fighting gravity itself. For years, his path to a title shot was interrupted again and again, not by opponents but by his own body. A persistent knee injury cost him nearly 2 full years of competition before he returned in April 2016. Fights against Tony Ferguson were booked and scrapped 3 separate times, first to injuries. Then, most dramatically, in March 2017, when Khabib was hospitalized during a brutal weight cut ahead of UFC 209. He was rushed to Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas with what the UFC called weight management medical issues, treated and discharged, but doctors warned him not to compete again until he'd stabilized. The fight was scrapped for a 3rd time. It would take until 2020 for Khabib and Ferguson to finally meet. The title finally came on April 7, 2018, when Khabib defeated Al Iaquinta for the vacant UFC lightweight championship. He defended it that September in the fight the entire sport had been building toward. UFC 229 on October 6, 2018, Khabib faced Conor McGregor at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, a fight soaked in over a year of personal animosity, ethnic and religious taunts from McGregor, and, 6 months earlier, an actual physical attack when McGregor and his entourage smashed the windows of a bus carrying Khabib's teammates in Brooklyn. Khabib had waited a long time for this. He got exactly what he came for. Total control on the ground, a stunning right hand in round 2, and a neck crank that forced McGregor to tap in round 4. Then it went wrong. Seconds after the finish, Khabib climbed the cage and leapt into the crowd, going after Dylan Dennis, a member of McGregor's team who had been goading him throughout fight week. In the chaos that followed, McGregor traded punches inside the cage with 2 men who had jumped in from Khabib's corner. Security and Las Vegas police eventually broke it up. No one was seriously hurt and no arrests were made, but the image of a champion who had just delivered the most disciplined performance of his career, throwing it away in a brawl seconds later, became the defining controversy of his career. The Nevada State Athletic Commission fined Khabib $500,000 and suspended him 9 months. McGregor was fined $50,000 and suspended 6. Khabib argued publicly that the punishment was unfair given that no one had been disciplined for the bus attack that started it all. He later called the aftermath a moment he wasn't proud of, framing it as a response to McGregor's team crossing lines that had nothing to do with sport. The long-reign Khabib suspension delayed his return until September 2019, when he defended his title against Dustin Poirier at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi, forcing a 3rd-round tap-out with the same suffocating grappling that had become his signature. It extended what became the longest continuous title reign in UFC lightweight history, 1,077 days in which the belt never left him. Loss in late April 2020. As the COVID-19 pandemic swept the world, Khabib Nurmagomedov fell ill in Dagestan with what was initially treated as pneumonia. His condition worsened, and in early May he was flown by military transport to a hospital in Moscow, where he suffered a heart attack requiring emergency bypass surgery and was twice placed into a medically induced coma. On July 3, 2020, at 57 years old, he died. He had spent decades turning children across Dagestan into world champions. He was denied a U.S. visa on multiple occasions and was never able to watch his son fight for the UFC title on American soil in person, including the McGregor fight, the biggest of Khabib's life. The last fight Khabib fought once more. At UFC 254 in Abu Dhabi on October 24, 2020, he faced Justin Gaethje, the interim champion, in what he had already privately decided would be his final bout. He finished Gaethje with a second-round triangle choke, extending his record to a perfect 29-0. Then, still in the cage, gloves still on, he broke down. "Today I want to say this was my last fight," he told the crowd, sobbing. He explained that he had spoken to his mother for 3 days before accepting the fight at all, that she couldn't bear the idea of him competing without his father in his corner, and that he had given his word it would be his last. He took off his gloves and set them down on the canvas. UFC President Dana White confirmed the retirement as final the following March. Khabib walked away undefeated in 29 professional fights, 13 of them UFC title-relevant wins, a career untouched by a single loss, and notably, in a sport where legal trouble has ended and defined other stars untouched by arrest or criminal charge. After Khabib's personal life had always been kept deliberately private. He married Khabib Nurmagomedova, a childhood friend and distant relative from his own village, in 2013, in a ceremony attended by roughly 3,000 people in Dagestan. They have 3 children. Since retiring, Khabib has built a business and coaching legacy of his own, acquiring and rebranding a regional promotion into the Eagle Fighting Championship, expanding his father's old gym system, and coaching a new generation of Dagestani fighters, including Islam Makhachev, who went on to win the UFC lightweight title Khabib had vacated, extending a lineage that started in a converted room of a mountain house in Sildi. The measure Khabib Nurmagomedov story doesn't have the same shape as most great fighters' stories. There's no comeback, no rematch, no crushing defeat to season the highlight reel. There is a perfect record, a suffocating style that solved the entire lightweight division, one night of chaos that briefly overshadowed his own greatest performance, and a retirement built not around fear or decline but around a promise made to a grieving mother in honor of a father who had given him everything. In a sport full of fighters who couldn't walk away, Khabib Nurmagomedov is remembered as one of the very few who did undefeated on his own terms, exactly when he said he would.